got Microsoft Dynamics GP modules. This is going to go over the modules in GP 2015. And our agenda today is we're going to go over the financial series, the distribution series, the technology-related changes in GP 2015, the reporting in BI, and also then we're going to have a Q&A at the end. Just a little bit on the roadmap of GP altogether. In 2012 is when Microsoft came out with GP 2013. Most people have upgraded from 2010 to 2013. There's the web client. There's functionality, management reporter, tools, hosting, and all that. GP 2013 with Service Pack 1 has done some web client wave releases, some updated functionality and rapid start, and then they moved it to the Azure server. 2013 SP2, there's been even more updates and some apps for Office 365. In 2014, you're looking at some additional functionality in GP 2013, but you're also looking at GP 2015 that was released in 2014, which has increased functionality. Workflows have been built into it, identity management, and service-based architecture. And then 2015 and beyond, there's more technology releases every 6 months. We're going to jump right into 2015 and the financial series changes. Within Dynamics 2015, the financial series, within GL, you have an additional workflow functionality. There's been a lot of enhancements to intercompany and how those transactions work, and then warning of vendors that have purchase orders and fixed assets year-end closing. So these are some changes we're going to get into and go through a little bit more. The first thing, which is a huge addition to GP 2015, is the workflow functionality. Workflow in GP enables you to define approval processes that must be complete to perform tasks. These workflows can be general ledger batch approvals, payables batch approvals, vendor approvals, receivable batch approvals, employee skills, and W4, project expense. All those kind of approvals have now been built into a workflow within your GP. The workflow maintains in SharePoint site. You can replace any existing workflows that you have, and you have 5 workflow types, and you can have email approvals in your workflows. This is just kind of a screenshot of what the workflow can look like and the different types of how they go. Over here on the left on the screen, you'll see you can name your workflow. You have a description of what that workflow actually is, whether or not it's active in your system, and then there's steps to every workflow option, right? You can check your existing orders, supervisor approvals, and then manager approvals. And in those approvals, you also have thresholds. So you have your over-unders for different dollar amounts and things like that. Down at the bottom is where you have your options of what happens with your workflow. If you can allow an approver to manually delegate tasks, if you can allow an originator to be an approver, so can you approve your own things, require at least one approver, or always require at least one approver, so everything has to have at least somebody approve it, right? And use alternative sign-off approval. So if someone is on vacation, that kind of thing, you can designate somebody else to approve those tasks. When a task is overdue, these are the bottom sections, you can delegate it. You can delegate it to an next approver, you can delegate it to a specific person, or you can automatically reject it if it's an overdue task. So there's also some timing issues that you can build into your workflows as well. We all know that kind of stuff is important in our everyday environment as well, to make sure that functions keep going. Within the financial module, there's also been updates to intercompany transactions. And if you have intercompany, you know that your intercompany transactions are now a lot easier to see in GP 2015, and the transaction processing has been changed to provide more efficiency. Intercompany transaction processing has been updated so that if a change is made to a transaction for the originating company, that change is automatically made for all destination companies as well. So an example of that is if you void an intercompany transaction in the originating company, that transaction is voided in the destination company at the same time. Right now, that's a manual process, but in GP 2015, it's an automated process, so it goes all the way back through. When you're viewing a transaction in the journal entry inquiry window, more complete transaction information is now displayed. So you can now, in an intercompany transaction, when you're viewing the journal entry, you can see the destination company and the offset accounts that were used for that journal entry. So you can see the entire thing from the originating company in the lookup windows. Those are just some of the changes that have been done to the intercompany. And in the purchase orders, an option has been set to add payables management setup window that displays a warning that open purchase orders exist in the system before the transaction can be saved or posted. This warning displays when entering a payables transaction to help prevent entries in the wrong module. So it assists your users so that they don't overdo payables transactions. The option warn if vendors has existing purchase orders has been added to the payables management setup window. If this option is marked, the system will check for any open purchase orders for a vendor when you select to save or post that transaction for the same vendor in the payables transaction entry window. And the last in the financial series is your fixed asset year-end close report. An optional report is now available when you close a year-end fixed asset. The assets that are included on the report are categorized by the asset book and are listed according to their asset IDs. The report also lists the current fiscal year for each asset book, as well as any adjustments that were made during the process to the closing year. Anybody who has fixed assets knows that this is not an available feature right now, and it's very helpful when you're doing your year-end close to have this information. The next is the distribution series within GP. And the distribution enhancements, you have an email, and you can edit email for historical documents, sales and purchases, and payment terms. What this means is now you can edit and resend email messages that contain sales or purchasing documents that have been sent to customers or vendors. The new option is available from the Sales Inquiry Zoom and the Purchase Inquiry Zoom windows if the ability to send documents using email has been enabled for the company you're working in. Similar functionality allows you to resend statements to customers and readmittance documents to vendors as well. This feature enables you to mark multiple documents and to send them through email to an address from your navigation list. You can edit emails for historical purchasing documents. Similar for customer statements, the email functionality enables you to embed documents in the body of your email message and send it to customers or prospects from your Dynamics GP system. Now you can also edit email addresses and resend documents that have been sent previously. The Edit Email button is added to the Sales Email Detail Inquiry Zoom window, which opens the Edit Sales Email Detail Inquiry window. All the existing email addresses are listed in the scrolling window, and if necessary, you can add email addresses to this list. And then payment terms. Additional options have been added to the payment terms setup window that provide a little bit more flexibility and greater control over how discount dates and transaction due dates are calculated whenever payment terms are used. The new field, calculate date from, is added to the payment terms setup window. The field includes the following options: a transaction date, which then that calculates the transaction due date from the date that the transaction was entered on. And then there's a discount date. This uses the calculated discount date to then calculate the transaction due date. Additional sections are also added for the due and the discount field. You can set up payment terms that go beyond the next month, extending out a year or more, and even a specified date. With these options, the discount date could be available later than the transaction due date. So those are just some of the changes with the distribution. Next is the human resources. Within the human resource module, the enhancements have been employee self-service enhancements. You can view and edit employee profiles, employee pay stubs, W-4 withholding information, direct deposit, employee benefits, and employee skills and training. To view and edit the employee profile, the information that's available for viewing or editing includes their address, phone number, birth date, and other personal information, emergency contact dependents, and their position history. The information is related to an employee's position history and will be available only if Human Resources is registered. The employee pay stubs, employees can view and print out their pay stubs online. W-4 withholding information. The W-4 Employees Withholding Certificate window was added to enable your employees to view or change their federal withholding information. Users also can view a record of historical changes they've made to their W-4 information. Direct deposit. The employee direct deposit window was added to enable employees to view and change their direct deposit information, including checking and savings accounts. Then the amounts that are deposited to a specific account and whether the amount deposited is a dollar amount or a percentage of their pay. Users can also stop or start direct deposit in this window. Employee benefits. The benefits view window has added to enable employees to view information about the benefits they receive, such as health insurance, 401k, employee purchase plans. This information is displayed only and can't be changed from within the benefits and view module. And lastly, the employee skills and training. The employee skills and training window was added to enable employees to view and change information related to the skills they've acquired and the training they received over their career. The skills and training list notification for approvers. When employees or managers initiate changes to an employee's information, a workflow process is automatically started to help ensure that the changes are reviewed and approved before they take effect. A navigation list for approvers has been added to show them what the workflow steps are and are awaiting their action. Approval list of employee self-service tasks. This list enables managers to submit changes to their team members, information when the managers initiate the changes. The action starts a workflow process to help ensure that changes are reviewed and completed before they take effect. Approval list of employees in self-service. This is kind of what I just went over. The lists are enabled for managers to submit changes to their team members and information. There is a workflow that will help ensure the changes are reviewed and completed before these tasks take change. The next is business intelligence and reporting. Business intelligence and reporting is your management reporter and navigation integration. A tab is now included in the reporting tool setup window to enable you to specify the management reporter service that your company will use to set up your financial statements and to specify the location of the report designer. A report list is included in this new tab, and that's going to allow you to quickly and easily find reports that you've created using Management Reporter. You can print the reports or modify the report designs as needed. And then you have Smart List Designer, which are refreshable Excel reports. Smart List now enables users to publish and refresh Microsoft Excel reports to Excel Report Library as long as the Smart List report was created using an existing SQL Server view. There is a new navigation option for the Smart List Designer window that provides an alternative to choosing the new buttons within the Smart List window. The new navigation option, Smart List Designer, is added to the Smart List menu. There's two ways to set up, there's two ways to open an Excel report. If a report has been published, users can access it from the location the report is deployed. If Excel is selected, the report data is exported to Excel. As with other Smart List reports, the data in the Excel report can't be changed and published back to GP Dynamics database. When you highlight a list that's been created with the view, then select Excel. The Smart List checks that the list has been published. If the list has been published, the refreshable list will open in Excel. If the list has not been published, it opens in Excel as a static list. The next is Business Analyzer, and it's updated for the client and companion app. There's a new version that's now available from the App Store. You can now view Management Reporter content in Business Analyzer. This app can now be used on devices that use Android or iOS operating systems as well as Windows. Business Analyzer enables you to view pre-configured reports that are tailored for specific roles. In addition to view your business's information from a variety of devices, you can also collaborate with others through real-time communication or by sharing a snapshot. You can view your Management Reporter content in Business Analyzer for the desktop client and the web client. The next will be the changes in the Dynamics web client. The web client enhancements, you have enhancements to invoicing and to the Canadian payroll. Invoicing capabilities have been made available in the Microsoft Dynamics GP web client. The invoicing provides a focused option for generating sales documents that can include tax calculations, product pricing information, in addition to performing standard sales tasks. These tasks include correcting, deleting, and voiding invoices, printing quotes, orders, invoices, back orders, or returns for customers, and allocating and fulfilling item orders. All those can now be done using the web client. The next enhancement to the web client would be the Canadian payroll. Canadian payroll capabilities have been made available to the web client. They include the following capabilities. You can set up classes and set default entries that speed up the process of entering pay and deduction records for new employees and create batches. You can enter payroll transactions in batches that can be used once or on a recurring basis for transactions that you enter repeatedly. You can use reconciling process to check for discrepancies in employee financial information or differences between detail and summary records. Prepare Canadian payroll reports that help you analyze payroll activity and identify errors in transaction entry, as well as standard reports, including ROE statements and T4 slips. You can create customized checklists for the month, quarter, and year-end processes. Those are all the things that you can do with the Canadian payroll web enhancement. Now I'm going to try to seamlessly switch over to my GP 2015 environment. Let's see how much time we have left, and we'll go through and just show you a little bit about it. Hold on just a second. Okay, so you all should be able to see my GP 2015 environment. You'll see that it looks almost identical to the existing GP 2013 environment. There's not a whole lot of differences to the way that it looks, but it is the way that it feels. And now it looks like my environment is not working. Okay. So you'll see I have my modules over here on the side. I have my financial module, cards, reports. Everything looks similar. When I go into journal entry inquiry, you'll see over here we talked about intercompany transactions. When we look into journal entries, you'll see down here it's grayed out. Obviously, this is a demo environment, but there's an intercompany button down here. And that's how we talked about in financial. There were changes to intercompany. If this were an intercompany transaction, I could click on that button and it would give me all the details to my intercompany transaction journal entry that I had done. So I can see both the transactions in the originating and destinating company from just this one screen instead of having to toggle in between companies. That was one of the major things that has changed. And then we have our smart list. So if we go into our smart list, you'll see that we have options over here, and we can export our solutions, and we have our Excel, and we can publish our reports right here. So when we go in and we run a report, we can publish this report out so that users can then come back and refresh it from their environment as well. Can't really show you the fixed assets year-end report, because then I'd have to close out fixed assets in my company. I don't really want to do that. Vendors and purchase orders, if we go to our setup screen for purchasing, we have our warnings in here set up so that we can get warnings on whether or not there's a purchase order available on a vendor. Display items, that kind of stuff. Now would be a good time as well for people if they have questions. You can type your questions in, and we can go into answering our questions.
We already have a couple, Colleen.
Oh, okay.
So one person asked, I did not even know that GP had an HR module. Do many of your clients use it?
GP does have an HR module. It works very well with payroll. A lot of clients that have payroll use the HR module, and some people that don't have payroll use the HR module. If you are a company and you track resumes and you have interns and that kind of stuff, what the HR module does is it allows you to pull in information on your employees, prospective employees, people, applicants, that kind of stuff. It has a review system in it and benefits and all that tracking-wise. It's a great system to use to track employee information and history. And then for budgeting purposes, you can then, since it's all stored in GP, you can pull that information out so you have headcount, benefits, and all that information readily available for you to do budgeting on as well. So yeah, HR is a great module to have.
Yeah, if you remember, It's been a while, but HR used to be a module that was a separate module that you purchased, and then in 2013 they bundled it all in with the new licensing. So it was, now it's basically free. That may be one of the reasons. And the second question is, can we still use SharePoint workflow with GP, or do we have to use the GP workflow?
No, you can use SharePoint workflow with GP as well. It goes both ways. You can use the GP one, or you can use your SharePoint one.
Okay.
I think the workflow that they made works in SharePoint, so you might want to compare your existing SharePoint workflow that you have with the new one that comes with GP 2015, because there might be some options in the one that's in GP 2015 that you don't have in your existing SharePoint. But no, you can use either one.
Oh, okay. And are there any other questions out there? I'm not seeing any more in the chat window.
Just another thing on Management Reporter as well. Anybody who uses Management Reporter in 2013, if you have a GP legacy connection, which is the connection just like FRX was directly to your database, that legacy connection is eventually going away. In Management Reporter, all the connections are going to be through a what's called a data mart in Management Reporter, which would be a separate database in your SQL, and it's updated every 5 minutes from your GP. So right now, the data mart's used for clients that have multi-currency, consolidations, and analytical accounting. But with GP 2015, the next version of Management Reporter that comes out, all the connections will be the data mart connection, and your legacy connection will go away. Just a side note.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve. I'm done.
No. Can you go back to the PowerPoint?
I can. Do you see it now?
Let's flog these two events. The next event in our series, continuing KTL series of education events, is what's new in CRM 2015, always trying to stay current and abreast of what's going on with the Dynamics products. And then April 14th, that's going to be Dave Vora, and on April 14th, Tim Lally is going to present GP perpetual licensing. So that's a whole new way to look at GP. But I wanted to see if there's any other chat questions in there. I don't see any. So with that, thank everybody for coming. I know anybody that's local recognizes we had an event last night. Luckily, I think it was at night and not too many people were out there. But if you have any questions, yeah?
Steve, I think there's just another question that just came through.
Yeah, here's another question from Maureen. All right. Okay. All right. So the question is, if we upgrade from GP 2013, is this a major task to move to 2015? Colleen, minor or major?
It's not major. The platform, and there's a lot more options that you have with going to GP 2015, because it does have the Azure cloud availability for you to use. So if you're in a terminal server or a Citrix environment, you now have a new option of using an Azure server and putting your GP on that instead of using the terminal server or a Citrix environment. That's about the biggest system change, I would say. Going from GP 2013 to 15, if you've got the web client in 2013, you're just upgrading your web client to 2015. So it's not a huge overload to do that upgrade.
And someone wanted you to expand on the HR thing about headcount usage. Can you expand on that?
Sure. If you're using the HR module in GP, obviously you have your employees all listed in there with your headcount. So you have your active employees, part-time, full-time, all those classifications are stored in your HR database. So for budgeting purposes, if you use a data warehouse or something like that, you can go to that database, that module within your GP, those tables, and pull that data out. So you can get a headcount amount, you can get exact benefits per employee, that kind of stuff. And right now, your if people use an outside payroll company, for budgeting purposes, they reach their outside payroll company and ask for documentation on the list of their employees and the benefits that they have so that they can budget per employee for benefits and that and get a total head count out of it. You can also use, if you're using the HR module within GP, you have your head count right there and all that information stored right in your GP, so you can go right in the tables and get that information for budgeting purposes and export it out. You can use SmartList, or you can use SQL queries, or you can use the data mart. I hope that helps.
I think that helped me. Well, again, everyone, thanks for your time, and thanks, Maureen. Yes, I know that helped. Maureen was asking the questions about HR, you know, we're happy to present these educational webinars to our clients, and thank you for attending. And we will hope to see you on the next event. Thanks, everybody.